Me too. Yeah. But it's like everywhere.
Well, it's something the context of soybeans and corn.
Comfortable with like self-study. Like it's too real don't really know.
Well, you don't have to, I think, because the service leader
You can sit maybe
but I
for
certainly, if you have the service leader in December, I have but yeah, I'll just introduce you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk about it.
I was gonna use this to sell. I'm still gonna use this.
And I go into that, and then
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Alice.
March, end of March, but twins come early, so.
Well, Alan is so crazy right now. Yeah.
I just developed.
I told you about it. Because I'm
It's like, hey, that's. Yeah.
when all else
Today I feel like really dry. It's probably like 6
Pretty soon to let.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
For the last 2 meetings.
So just make sure that because it doesn't going to experience.
Yeah, he sure.
I love especially big brother, big sister when they have a midfoot, it's like one was swaddling, you know, and like the hospital swaddling.
Yeah, he's already saying. My wife says like.
That's usually what does it for me. Like whenever there's like a big weather change, I usually get kind of gross.
I mean, we were last time on these days, we pretty much.
Yeah, thank God. Yeah,
And Alice, you're okay still reading the beloved community letter? Was that okay?
Very,
kind of like halfway around too.
So are you?
You're very ready for that work.
yeah,
That's very reasonable.
Usually no. Last month was just really crazy, so I just ended up pulling
What time to take the dinner?
But now everyone's starting to die.
They're like, I'm ready to rock.
okay. Hi everyone. For our in-gathering, it's a little different this time. We're going to sing sing hymn 53, and our new accompanist Madison is going to play it through once, so we'll get a feel for the melody. And we're singing, I think 1, 4, and 5. Okay.
Sweeter shines the landscape through its veil of Good morning.
My name is Brian, my pronouns are he, him, and we're glad that you're all here with us in person as well as online. And a special welcome to our visitors. And speaking of that, hopefully not a visitor, Madison is our new accompanist, and would you introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah. Hi all. I'm Madison, pronouns she. I have been involved in music for most of my life. I've had some previous experience as a church pianist, and I'm so excited to join you guys and meet you all. And thanks for having me.
Thank you. Welcome. A few announcements that are the typical announcements. We try to keep the service to an hour, but we don't hold any hostages, so if you need to leave, please feel free to do so. Also, I'm very excited to give you the announcement that Kari is our guest speaker today, and we're really excited to learn about normal mysticism. So we've been looking forward to that. Really excited about it. Next Sunday, I'm going to be presenting a sort of like a didactic, one of my didactic sermons, meaning a lesson about existentialism, but it's actually inspired from a song from The Greatest Showman called A Million Dreams. So stay tuned for that one. And October the 26th, which is the last Sunday this month, Shelley's going to be here, and I will not be here, so we're looking forward to that as well. Speaking of speakers, if anybody is interested in serving on the speaker search team or speaker appropriation team, please see myself or Kari, because we are casting nets wide and taking suggestions from people and really enjoying everyone's assistance in that regard, because we like to have wide and varied perspectives from people from different walks of life and systems. So if you're interested in serving on that team, please let us know. There was a brief statement in the newsletter that I want to just reiterate, and that is we have found that after April, we will no longer be able to meet in this space because they're going to be doing a major overhaul and renovation, and this space will not be available anymore. So we'd love to solicit your assistance in maybe casting another net around to see if you know of places where we might be able to move and meet, perhaps maybe not even over the summer, because we may be able to meet in homes and things like that, since we only have service once a month in the summer, but at least by next fall. We would love to take as many suggestions. It's kind of like brainstorming when I teach writing at the college level. It's like brainstorming means everything's on the table. We can take away ideas later, but bring all the ideas forward, and you can see anybody in the council and, or email us, and we'll probably send some more information through the newsletter to solicit those ideas. But we see it as an opportunity for continued success and growth, and so we're hoping that this will just lead us on to things that will continue to challenge us and help us reach out to the larger community. Now, because this announcement was added, I have to put my glasses on to see it. Our Ukrainian family needs help. They need more help. If you're willing to and able to write a letter to U.S. senators, tell your friends, and or donate, or all of that, please see Kelly McCowan or Jim Grinlin. Additional details and letter writing supplies will be available after the service. Anything else for that, Kelly or Jim?
But I brought everything, so if you want to write letters, if you have a few minutes after the service, we can write to our senators and ask them for their help.
Awesome. So we have all the different tools in play there. Other announcements that anybody would like to add?
Speaking of newsletter, it's really hard to send out an email and say, did you
Get this?
get the newsletter or did you not? So please raise your hand if you have not received the newsletter in the last couple of days or last weekend. You did not?
I did not.
Okay. All right. So I'm sending, there's a few people I was aware of that for some reason on our mass mailing, they weren't getting it, so I'm sending separate emails to those people. But on our main list, it's like 87 people, so I didn't want to send out individual ones to everybody. But, okay, so And if you talk to anybody who's a member of the church and they have mentioned, I'm not getting the newsletter, just let me know.
And also check your spam or junk folder too. I had to find it
That's right.
there one time, so.
I'm getting it now,
Yeah, good.
and then another one from you.
Okay, good. I don't need to send you the individual
right.
one then. Okay, thank you.
Other announcements?
Treat sign up.
Treat signups, yes.
We're good through the start of November, but after that, it's wide open. So feel free to jot your name down.
Yes.
And I was trying to not make a bunch of announcements at the same time for me, but this one is another announcement that I wanted to save till towards the end of the announcement time, and that is, we have service leaders that help us, like Chuck and Kelly and Alice and so forth, and Minnie, Kathy. We've got, and Dawn will be taking November, but we're still looking for a service leader for the month of December. And the month of December is the holiday season, so it's really nice to have some assistance with that. So if you're interested and you haven't been a service leader, feel free to see me. I would love to be able to rein you into that. If you have been and you would like to be in December, please let us know. But many of the people who are our typical service leaders are very busy with outside things during the holiday season, so if you don't find yourself in that situation of being horribly busy outside of what we do here, feel free to stand in. It's very simple, and it's not taxing. It just is really helpful to have someone. Alice.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Okay, any other last announcements? Okay, well, I would invite you now to take a slow, deep, gentle breath and to exhale just as intentionally. Try to separate yourself from the chaos around you, all out there, and be in here and present with one another as we meditate to this prelude. I now invite you to remain seated so that everyone can see the screen and join us in our opening words and the lighting of the chalice. We gather this morning in the spirit of wonder to honor the quiet mysteries that shape our lives, the ones that arrive unannounced and leave us changed in ways words can scarcely hold.
We come seeking not answers, but awareness. Not certainty, but openness. Not perfection, but presence.
There are moments, sudden and soft, when the veil between the ordinary and the sacred grows thin. A sunrise that stops our breath. A word that heals. A silence that holds us tenderly.
In those moments, the heart remembers what the mind forgets. That life is sacred, and we are held within something vast and loving.
Transformation often begins in mystery, in the places we cannot name, in the questions we dare not rush to answer. Let us be still enough to notice, brave enough to feel, and open enough to be changed.
We welcome the mystery. We trust the unfolding. We open our hearts to transformation.
Therefore, as we light our chalice, may this flame remind us that the mystery is not to be solved, but to be lived. May its light guide us through our wanderings, its warmth steady us in times of transformation, and its glow kindle in us a reverence for all that is yet to be revealed.
We light this chalice for the mystery that moves through our lives, for the love that transforms us, and for the light that leads us ever deeper into the sacredness of being.
And then together we say, may
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers, to heal with love, to help with compassion, to bless with joy, to serve you, Spirit of freedom, in the fullness of community.
Join us in hymn number 289, and rise as you are able and willing. Hymn number 289.
And we'll hear it played through once.
Creative love, our thanks we give, that this our world is incomplete, that strong things are will to live, that work awaits our hands and feet, that we are not yet that we are in a making stillness, as to share enterprise, and strive to blend us and truth. What though the future lonely lay, and still with falseness beginning grow, it gives us settle for which wish to pray, a field for toil and faith and hope. Since what we choose is what we are, and what we love we shall be, the holy emerson of our the will to teach makes us free.
You may be seated.
Beloved community, today we pause to hold in our hearts all those affected by the ongoing government shutdown. Those who serve in our military, who protect our lands and waters, who inspect our food and care for our people, who process benefits, maintain our parks, and keep the everyday workings of our nation moving. This moment of political impasse is not an abstraction. It reaches into homes and hearts. It misses paychecks, delayed harvests, and families struggling to make ends meet. It means uncertainty for those who have already given so much in service and faithfulness. We hold our farmers who rise each day to care for the land, even when support systems falter. We hold government workers and contractors whose livelihoods depend on the simple promise that their work will be honored. We hold service members who continue their duty without knowing when the next paycheck will come. In this time of disruption, may we remember that the measure of our shared community is not found in political victories, but in how we care for one another when systems fail us. May our compassion extend beyond words into action, advocacy, and generosity for those in need. As people of faith and conscience, we affirm the vision of beloved community, a world where every worker is valued, every family is secure, and every person's dignity is upheld. May our love reach across the divisions of our time, lighting the way toward justice, stability, and care for all.
It's the time during our service when, if you feel moved to do so, come forward, light a candle, share a joy and or concern. And at the end, I'll light a final candle for all those joys and concerns that remain unspoken. And if anybody online would like a candle lit, please feel free to chime in and Alice will light one for you.
I can talk. It's the only time they let me out from behind the computers back there. Well, longer than 41 years ago, we met in high school.
A little bit.
Just a bit. But we are celebrating our 41st anniversary today. We're not. Oh.
It's a globe.
Represents the start as well, anyway, so yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Back to their corners.
Well, this is, surprise, surprise, a musical joy. Yesterday and Friday was the Barbershop Harmony Convention's district contest for this region, and my chorus did quite a bit better than last year, and surprisingly better than we were anticipating, and we had a happy surprise. And I could tell you more about it, and I could go on for the whole service. Also a musical joy to have a accompanist again. So.
So it's partly joy and partly concern. She got new glasses, and got her bifocal removed, so
Oh, wow.
quite a difference. And then tomorrow is her sedated MRA to look at her right carotid artery and
Okay.
all that stuff that they want to look at, I guess. So we'll see how that goes.
So you went somewhere fun yesterday?
We did. We went to a free little pumpkin thing, huh?
Stillwater Harvest Fest.
Yeah,
They have
they
a
drop it
free,
from a crane.
they drop
cool.
a giant pumpkin from 100 feet in the air.
Where is it?
In Stillwater,
Oh, okay.
and they do, it's yesterday and today, so at 5:30 today, they're dropping another pumpkin. And a giant pumpkin, I mean, they're 1,500-pound pumpkins.
So you don't want to try to catch it.
No. And then the whole point is to run in afterwards and grab one of the giant pumpkin seeds, because they're about this big around. And it's completely free, you just go down and hang out, and it's all day today and all the rest of the day.
So are you
And
growing
every-
pumpkins next year?
we did not get a seat.
Oh.
We did not want to fight the 400-person crowd all the way around it. So you can get there early if you want a seat, to get in the front row.
Yeah.
Or you can buy them, they have packs of them, you can buy it at the store. They're cheap.
I'm going to light a candle first. I'm not sure how many of you have followed the news, but there was an explosion in Centerville, Tennessee,
Yes.
which is a couple hours from where I grew up. And actually, my cousin years ago worked in that facility while he was in technical school in Nashville. It's not too far from Nashville. So you just never know how far away things might seem, yet they're not that far away. And they were not able to find any survivors of the 16 people that were missing. So I light this candle in honor of that. And then now I'll light a final candle for all of the joys and concerns that remain unspoken. May we know that whatever befalls us in life, we are held in the loving embrace of this community. And now we say, for all the joys and concerns shared here today, both spoken and unspoken,
we hold you in our hearts.
And one of my favorite things to do is to say, I'd like to introduce you to our guest speaker today, one of our very own. Kari, come forward. Take it away.
Thank you, Brian. Excuse me, I'm just coming off a cold, so I'm going to try to stand close to the microphone and hope I don't cough. Okay, there's two readings today. The first is from Meister Eckhart, a 13th century German priest, philosopher, and mystic, who wrote, "The eye with which I see God is the same eye with which God sees me. My eye and God's eye are one eye, one seeing, one knowing, one love." And the second quote is from Erwin Schrödinger, a 20th century Nobel laureate in quantum physics, who wrote, "The total number of minds in the universe is one. In fact, consciousness is singular." My message today is about mysticism, perception of the divine, perception of what's beyond the veil, and specifically the mounting evidence that, number one, there is a non-material realm of reality. Number two, that normal humans can sometimes perceive it. And three, we need to stop thinking of it as something that's bizarre or supernatural or imaginary. But, okay, so what put me on the path that has me talking to you here today? Okay, when I was a college freshman, I was wandering in the bookstore one Saturday, completely relaxed, completely receptive, standing in the middle of the bookstore, looking down the aisles, wondering which one I should explore down. You know, biology, should I explore history? Should I explore psychology? Where should I go? When, boom, my 5 physical senses just shut down. And I wasn't looking at books on shelves. I was hearing this beautiful, massive choir of all the authors. And they were all singing to me out of the love they felt for their own subject and the energy they put into writing those books and their love and the desire that they wanted to share it with me. And it was the most beautiful choir I ever heard. And they were all singing about their own subject, but they were all singing the same thing. And it was this song, okay, one thing you know about mysticism, words fail. Words are invented for the material world and don't explain anything. There's no labels for things on the other side of the veil. And the song was of divine creative love, the energy that just flows through them and flows through me and flows through the whole world. And it was unspeakably beautiful. And then, bam, I was back in my own normal consciousness, and I'd fallen backwards onto a display table, and the bookstore clerk was, you know, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Now, I don't remember what I said to him, but I was thinking, oh man, am I okay? I am more okay than I have ever been in my entire life. But what was that? And then a few months later, something similar happened. I was working a summer job in Wyoming, and on a very rainy night, I had just finished cleaning the bathhouse, and I was standing in the doorway of the bathhouse, just waiting for a break in the rain so I could run back to my cabin. And I was watching the individual raindrops fall from the sky, and when they hit the roof of the linen shed, they would form into this single sheet of water, and then they would form back into individual raindrops and hit the ground, and form a single trickle of water that went to the stream, that went to the river, that went to the ocean, that I knew would evaporate and come, and pow! Okay, my 5 senses shut down, and all of a sudden I wasn't looking at water. I was looking or seeing or perceiving a universal, eternal cycle of life. And we exist as individual raindrops, you know, for just briefly, but then we'll go back into the whole thing. And no matter what form we're in at the moment, we're all the same essence, that same essence of divine love and energy and creation, and again, unspeakably beautiful. And then, pow, I was back in my own normal consciousness again, and lying on the bathroom or on the bathhouse floor where I'd fallen. So now these experiences left me absolutely confounded. It's like, what's that? You know, I had no intellectual framework for this. I had no vocabulary for this. And at the moment, I did not make any connection with religion. I had been raised Presbyterian, and if any of you have ever been in Presbyterian Sunday school, I mean, it has the same spiritual content as the history classes in the public schools. You know, on Sunday I'd study Moses and Noah, and on the rest of the weeks I'd study Lincoln and Kennedy, and it was all just history, no spiritual content. I actually didn't make the connection. Over the next couple of years, I did read a bit in religion, thank you, Houston Smith, and realized that, yeah, you know, religion picks it up. You know, they've all seen it. They're talking about that same divine creative energy that I saw. And but I also knew it had something to do with consciousness. And so when a friend of mine invited me to join her in a weekend workshop to learn self-hypnosis, I jumped at the chance. And it was especially attractive for a grad student because it had a money-back guarantee. If you didn't have a psychic experience on the last day of the self-hypnosis workshop, you'd get your money back. So I heard that as a promise of a free class in self-hypnosis because there was no way I was going to have a psychic experience. So I went to the workshop and didn't ask for my money back. On the last day of the workshop, I did access some very specific information about the brother of another participant. Information I had no way of acquiring through my five senses, that she then tearfully, sadly verified. It was not good news, not good information. And so that self-hypnosis workshop, you know, again, didn't answer any questions for me. I didn't know what that was, you know, what is that? But it did pique my curiosity further. It took two more events before I felt that I was on at least the right track towards starting to understand what that was. In the early 80s, I worked at an office that sometimes received brochures for continuing education for healthcare professionals. And one time a brochure, you know, came into the office about a seminar in clinical hypnosis for therapists that use hypnosis in their practice. And it was offered by a man who was at that time, I believe, the leading national expert in research in clinical and experimental hypnosis, a guy named Theodore X. Barber. So I signed up for that conference, or that seminar, and went and learned a lot of neat stuff about induction and stuff. And on the last day seminar, I got up the courage to ask my question in front of a whole audience of highly rational, highly educated healthcare professionals. And I told my story very briefly to Dr. Barber and said, what was that? And he replied by telling me he didn't know and that he could not study it because he would ruin his career if he tried. But he turned to the rest of the audience and said, listen to this woman. If you incorporate clinical hypnosis in your practice, you will, from time to time, encounter people who acquire information they have no way of acquiring through their five senses. They will recover memories of past lives. They will speak to the deceased people. It will happen to you. Do not freak out. Work with it. It's real. It happens. Sorry, you can't study it or we'll lose our position in the university. And so, I mean, at least that reassured me. But I still didn't really answer my question. What was that? The thing that only enabled me to say, yes, that was it, I recognize that, was when I read my first account of an NDE, a near-death experience. Now, I did not die, I did not go through a tunnel, I didn't have life review, none of those things. But when I started listening to accounts of NDEs, immediately and deeply recognized that sense of information download, that sudden comprehension of something that is presented to you. I recognize the unspeakable beauty that can be recorded from beyond the veil. I recognize the beyond words nature of communication on the other side of the veil. I recognize that sense of real beyond reality that they record that makes this world seem like the illusion. And there's something else that's more real. And finally, I recognize that sense of being in the presence of the source, that divine, all-encompassing, absolutely unconditional, creative love. Where's that joy, love, source divine, all things. So that set my path toward learning more about NDEs. I'm happy to report that the colonial tradition against using the tools of empirical research to explore visible phenomena has started to crack. I think it was sometime around the 1990s. Started accepting what their patients were telling them and starting themselves to ask the question, what is that? What was that? And so genuine scientists are now starting to bring empirical methods and replicability to the study of these phenomena, and without endangering their careers. And they are returning some really fascinating findings. First of all, the brain does not create consciousness. The materialistic paradigm that posits that everything that exists is some kind of interaction between matter and energy has done fabulous things to help us understand this gray matter, what section of the brain has what function, that sort of thing. But it hits a brick wall when it tries to move from association to causation. There's just no mechanism that can explain why a biological neuron, or even a collection of biological neurons, can come up with thoughts or awareness of meaning, that sort of thing. It's like this divide, and materialistic science can only go so far. And since the materialistic paradigm cannot provide for anything, for consciousness to be anything than a product of, functioning gray matter in your brain and your brain and your brain all separately, it cannot do anything with the thousands of instances verified in the past few decades of information acquisition while a person's brain was not functioning or when their five senses were offline. The sorts of things that are now being seriously studied by people using empirical research are NDEs, the near-death experiences, which don't always require the person to actually die. The same thing happens in comas, when they're completely out of it. Or there's another phenomenon called terminal lucidity, in which people whose brains have been gone for quite their physical brains have been gone, right before death, have a period of complete lucidity. And again, this is documented over and over again. The second kind of thing is spiritually transformative experiences that happen in perfectly healthy people, sometimes spontaneous, like mine were, or sometimes possibly associated with drugs or meditation, that sort of thing. There's something called a shared death experience, in which a healthy person who is sitting by the bedside of a dying person has an altered consciousness experience that is similar to the kind of experience that a dying person has, except, they're observing it or seeing it. And there's also studies into after-death communication, in which deceased people give messages to living people or appear to them somehow. And now, really, there are some documented instances of this, verified cases. Obviously, yes, a lot of stories of that kind of thing are made up. But the existence of fake Rolexes doesn't disprove the existence of real Rolexes. It only tells you have to be careful about what you're looking at. So my message is these mystical experiences are not weird. Around half of all adults have had one of the experiences I just described, small or large. And again, if we're relaxed and open, we can see evidence of this all around ourselves, sometimes in small ways, just being open to it and relaxed about it and not, that can't possibly be. We know that if hospital staff ask revived patients, very matter-of-factly after they're revived and routinely ask this question, do you remember anything? That between 10 and 20% of them will have a conscious memory of something that happened in the material world while they were out, or a mystical experience, from beyond the veil, whatever you want to call that. So if individual brains do not produce consciousness, what does? Consciousness must somehow exist separately from outside our brains. At a near-death studies conference that I attended in late August, I encountered an idea that seems useful to me. Again, not proven, just it's a good model to think about. Our brains are receivers. They're like cell phones. You get a lot of information from your cell phone, but your cell phone does not create that information. It's a receiver. Perhaps our brains are the same sort of thing. And just as with a cell phone, your cell phone does not dump the whole contents of the internet on you all at once. Your cell phone acts as a filter. And perhaps our brains evolved as a filter for consciousness, allowing through only the information or the awareness that we need to function as biological beings in a material world. That one makes sense to me because, as I learned when my five senses briefly went offline, you can't function in the material world when you're conscious of the whole thing. It doesn't work. So how did my five senses go offline all at once? One research path is looking at a part of the brain called the thalamocortical loop. And this part of the brain is responsible for receiving all the physical senses, five physical senses information that comes in, and sort of sorting it out and sending it to the part of the cortex that can use it. And if this structure momentarily goes offline or short circuits somehow, you're basically depriving your brain of physical sensory input. And perhaps that turns the filter off and frees our minds to perceive the whole thing. Again, theories, models, none of this is proven, but it's moving forward. So the mystical world is not supernatural. It's as natural as anything can possibly be. It's not over there. It's in here. It's around all of us all the time. We're swimming in it. There is no contradiction between a genuinely rational attitude and approach and acceptance of the idea that we are in one single huge consciousness, an unseen realm of great majesty, of timeless life, of boundless love. And our minds can occasionally perceive it directly, even while we're trapped in these meat suits. Okay. So that's the end of my prepared remarks. We can talk more after the reflective music.
forum for conversation.
Any conversation?
That was fascinating. I've always had one foot in the skepticism of NDEs and past lives and stuff like that. But I've watched a few videos on YouTube of Mayim Bialik, who was the actress from Big Bang Theory, and she's a neuroscientist or something, and she has several videos, at least several, talking with scientists and doctors and people who have had those experiences, especially NDEs, and it's like, wow, it's hard to argue with that being a real thing.
I second that. I can't pronounce the name. Mayim Bialik's podcast on YouTube. Look it up. I can't think of the name of it offhand, but yeah, it's. I find it very interesting. Her neuroscientist point of view, interviewing people with NDEs. It's very good. Yeah.
When can we do that?
Well, we all will. Sooner or later, the raindrops do go back into the whole ocean, so, yeah.
When I started grad school, my very first class was, what is it called? Faith formation throughout the lifespan. And I was human development.
Faith formation?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't a religious graduate program, it was human development. Spiritual formation, I don't remember what the name of it was. Anyway, Bob Salt was my instructor, and he came here and talked after I had him as my instructor. But he came from a long line of professors, and he knew how to do science, and he knew, but he had all these past life experiences, and he started doing research about that, and he was having a hard time kind of reconciling, I'm supposed to stay in the science and the rational mind, but there's so much evidence that I'm seeing. And so he shared some of that in the class that I took. And so talk about mind-blowing, anyway. So it was really good. And so we've had some experiences with speakers that they're not trying to go into this, but they just experience it. And myself too, when I first started coming to this church, I have always seen auras in people. And I didn't know anything different. I thought everybody saw auras. But in a women's group meeting, somebody was talking about auras, and I'm like, well, what are auras? Well, sometimes there's a glow around a person. I'm like, well, yeah. Don't you see that? And so I stopped seeing them for a while.
No.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because you talked about it.
I realized it was different.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah.
Now everybody's going to be nervous around you, Kari. What?
Well, were they before? Yeah, I don't know if the YouTube video recording picked up what Kelly just said, but yeah, she mentioned the professor, a very scientific professor when she was in college, who was very adamant about, empiricism and whatnot, but had himself had a bunch of past life memories, experiences. Yeah. And again, if you get into this area, you see that over and over and over and over again. The trained neurophysicists, the trained surgeons, the people who are now the main researchers in this area all tended to start off as surgeons and physicians who just finally, could not deny what was right before their eyes, or had a near-death experience of their own that just created this massive humility in them about the limitations of the materialistic paradigm. And, I was going to say one more thing. Oh well, it'll come back to me if it's important. Any other, yeah?
this is kind of second hand, but a friend of mine belongs to a group called UU Mystics. I was just wondering if you were participating in that group or aware of it.
No, he says there's a group called UU Mystics and wondered, I know, I've never.
I haven't done it myself. I think it's an online group, so you can just Google it and probably find it.
I will, thank you. Anything else? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kari. I could have added a lot of my own opinions in the affirmative to that, having such a connection to animals, but we'll delay that for another time, maybe during treats.
There you
So,
go.
you know, that's the way it goes. I would like to invite you to rise as you are able and join us in the closing hymn, which is number 112.
No.
For my Sending Insight, I had something interestingly prepared, but mystically, that's been changed, mostly by the joy, the profound joy, that it brings me to hear the sound of children in the congregation. So, and speaking of that, to me, that's mystical. I was taught back when I was a student pastor that the sounds of children in the congregation is like the sound of the spirit of life that we have as adults learned sometimes too much to harness and normalize in ways that stifles it. But children yet are alive with that spirit of life, and it's just awesome. So that's my Sending Insight. And now please enjoy this postlude. Thank you, Madison, we're so glad. And thank you for helping us trudge through some new hymns, so that was not you.
That was me.
But, you know, we have to have some news sometime. I invite everyone who would like to stay and join us in treats.
And support our Ukrainian
Oh, yes.
family.
Oh, yeah, talk to me if you have a contribution.
And we can, that first hymn, we leaned in toward discomfort.
Exactly. Or lean into the mysticism that's involved with discomfort, right?
Yeah, you know, I tried to plunk, I'm not a piano player, but I can plunk out melody usually, but I'm not good with rhythms, and so I just, those intervals are singable, so, yeah.
It was so interesting, kind of different, like rhythm.
Yeah.
Talk about an exam, right? We have some real, we can actually sing, really, we can. And we have some nice little hymns.
I just wanted to say, your chickens must be kind of violent.
I wish I could blame that on the chickens, but this is me fumbling around. I need to wear gloves more, and it's always my left hand.
Yeah, a good set of gardening gloves, some kind of thing, really good to have.
The problem is, I have such unforgiving arthritis. It's very irregular. So when I put the gloves on, even if they're the thinner ones, I lose more than and then I'll end up putting the nail constructing nails, you know, I'll put them left and left. At least that's what I figured. So, I'll learn eventually.